Can we all rise for the pledge? And we're going to have a pledge by Daisy Troop 1362. You ladies, could you rise and do the pledge for us?
Can they see there? They see there?
You ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wow, great job. Have a good evening.
Hey Felicia, your daughter doesn't look like nothing like you.
All right.
All right, Charles, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, Sabrina. We'll talk for the flag. Awesome. Yes, anxious. I'm another baby.
Adorable.
Sabrina, first
Oh.
and,
Oh, Sabrina, you're already
so
number
having
3?
baby number 3.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Thank you. All right, welcome to the May meeting of the Philipstown Town Board. Approval of minutes. We have nothing there.
Still
No,
not-
we're
still
waiting
not
on
working.
we're waiting on the minutes, Kelly, correct? Yes. We're still, okay. Committee reports, Conservation Board. I'm sorry?
Public hearing.
We did
Public
What does
hearing
it
is
say?
on
On
the,
local law.
the pub. Oh, but it's not even on my agenda, but sorry about that. We have a public hearing, excuse me.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Town Board of the Town of Philipstown on May 1st, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. at the Philipstown Town Hall, 238 Main Street, Cold Spring, New York. The purpose of a public hearing is to hear the comments for or against a proposed local law entitled, "A Local Law Establishing a New 6-Month Moratorium on the Acceptance, Processing, or Approval of Applications for a Land Using Approval for Oil or Petroleum Storage Facilities and Uses Involving Oil or Petroleum Storage Facilities." A complete copy of the local law is available for inspection upon request sent to the town clerk at philipstown.com and is also available at the town's website, philipstown.com, dated April 16, 2025, by the order of the Town Board, Tara K. Percocello, Town Clerk.
Okay, so this is a reinstatement of a local law, a public hearing for a local law. We had noticed a deficiency in our zoning, which allowed stuff that we were not happy or comfortable with happening in the town of Philipstown. We did have 2 prior moratoriums. This is extending the moratorium. And I know you guys have worked on getting a new law into place, but we are not
Not there
prepared.
yet.
Not there yet.
Close. Very
The,
close.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The Zoning Update Advisory Committee just okayed the release of the final memo regarding the hybrid types of petroleum and oil storage facilities. It's a proposal being an overlay district. So I'm going to submit that to the board, and I'm going to, unless the board feels differently, proceed with a draft local law to submit to the board.
Sure.
And this moratorium will prevent any petroleum and oil storage facilities from being approved within the next 6 months. I would expect that that draft local law would be approved prior to expiration of the moratorium.
Great.
There is a provision in here for 2 additional 6-month extensions if necessary. I do not anticipate it will be necessary, but of course you have to see how things shake out once the law has been submitted. So we'll be submitting that memo, drafting law, and getting it to the board. And this moratorium is just to make sure that no approvals are sought or issued prior to the board being able to consider that local law.
Okay, great. Do you, Judy or Bobby, want to comment on the local law where you stand?
I want to thank the committee for
Great.
doing
Same.
the work so expeditiously and for Steve for his guidance through this process. I think they worked really well together and pulled it together pretty quickly.
My thanks
you.
as well to the committee. I know it was a lot of work to get it.
Yeah,
And there's
everything's,
2 parts.
we're getting there. Like I said, probably in the next month or so, it should be pretty close to be wrapped up.
Great, okay. Call on the public. Anybody from the public? Good? All right.
Steve, can you hear us? Yeah, they're working? Steve?
It just doesn't sound like it from here.
So we're not voting on it.
Good? No, we're not voting, it's just a public hearing.
To close the public hearing and then. you
Motion
vote.
to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to the rest of the meeting. Committee reports, Conservation Board. I'm sorry, we have no minutes. Conservation Board, go ahead.
Conservation Board, I was not able to attend the April 8th Conservation Board meeting. The next Conservation Board meeting is May 13th at 7:30 PM.
So we'll get a super report on May.
Yeah, a big super double report, yeah.
Recreation, thank you.
Good evening. The Philipstown Recreation Commission held its April meeting on Tuesday, April 29th. The commission welcomed one of its two newest members, Megan Shea, to the board. Its other new member, Kristen Sherman, will join at the May meeting. The rec center is currently midway through its spring programming and launched our summer registration on Monday, April 21st. It's a short, abbreviated session just ahead of summer camp. Speaking of summer camp, preparation for the 7 weeks is underway, and we have seen a significant shift in our income for the month of April due to a new policy in place requiring camp deposits from all registered families this month. Last year, they asked for the deposit by June, this year in April, and that's worked pretty well so far. For seniors, there's a spring luncheon on Wednesday, May 21st, and there are enough volunteers for this event. Senior trips resumed in March, and the May trip to Woodbury Outlets will be on May 15th. Representatives from Philipstown Recreation earlier this month attended town workshop on making Philipstown buildings and parks smoke and vape free. We currently at the rec center have signage up at the building, but we'll plan to post any additional signage on the property and at parks that is provided by the county. The signs will be provided by the county, I believe. Grounds and parks work continues on the water tower, and the town's currently waiting on welder availability to repair the site of the leak. I don't know if Supervisor Van Tassel wants to say anything further on that.
Well, they're in the process of putting a patch on the pipe coming from the tower down, that shaft that comes out where the leak was. I did speak with the welder on Tuesday of this week. He said he would definitely have it done by the end of May, so it would not interfere with the camp. And then the tank can be refilled by the wells.
Great, so well in advance of summer camp.
Yep.
And Philipstown Park is now open for the season, so we're delighted to learn that the park is open. As was the case last year, one main field is being treated, and there are, it's being treated around both the goals on the field. And there's also an electric mower that's now been donated by the Climate Smart Philipstown. So thank you to Climate Smart Philipstown for the donation of the electric mower, which we got with all those state funds for our initiatives. And finally, the Philipstown Recreation is participating in the Cold Spring Community Day, which is on June 21st. And it's hosted by the Cold Spring Village Recreation Commission. Thank you to the Recreation Department and Cecily Hall.
Thank you to all of you. Thank you, Jim. Philipstown Hub.
Philipstown Hub held a fertility support group. And by the way, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, the month of May. And the Philipstown Hub's been very busy. They held a fertility support group every Wednesday, a virtual job search boot camp every Monday, a support group for women with ADHD, coffee for parents and caregivers, a support group for caregivers of adults, and an adult grief support group. The Hub also held a private support group for Haldane students that have experienced recent loss on April 24th. The Hub is working with the school administration and counselors to initiate outreach. The next Hub Board of Directors meeting will be Wednesday, May 14th. In April, Michelle met with the Cold Spring Chamber of Commerce. Michelle Cupper, the relatively new executive director, has already had a lot of meetings. Cold Spring Chamber of Commerce, Topfield Equestrian Center, Lauren Johnson, the dual recovery coordinator for Putnam County, the Putnam County Mobile Crisis Outreach Team, the Friendship Center, and the Mark Foundation. She's also spoken with Roy and Nicole, Memorial Gardens Project, about the possibility of placing a garden in memory of those lost to suicide on this side of the county. And she attended Be a Friend Project fundraising gala. The Philipstown Hub continues to partner with Nick Falcon and the Philipstown Volunteer Ambulance Corps on You Matter line, and is checking with a few participants every week to see how they're doing. Michelle began the process of showing therapists to Route 9 space. We have therapists interested, and the goal is not to act as a landlord for one therapist, but to have different forms of therapy at that site on Route 9. Alex Clegg, the community coordinator, and who she coordinates crisis care, is directly involved in handling a community crisis situation for a family that Haldane put in touch with the hub. And the family continues to get ongoing support. Alex and Michelle attended a mock suicide overdose fatality review, and the goal of the exercise was to introduce all partners with a review and recommendation process while using a fictional case in preparation for an official review targeted for later this year. It's held by the Bridge Alliance in collaboration with the New York State Overdose Response Strategy Team. It's a very powerful exercise in which Michelle and Alex witnessed each stakeholder's roles and responsibilities, and there was discussion among community organizations to identify opportunities for intervention. The hub has enrolled the Stone Street location in Sustainable Westchester's community solar project, up to 10% off the monthly bill from Central Hudson with no fees or penalties. And there are a lot of upcoming events because the hub's just busy, but also it's Mental Health Awareness Month. As you know, there's an online, and you can run, you can walk, you can bike. The fundraiser for the hub, Miles for Mental Health, which is an annual event. And then May 7th is a book discussion about the anxious generation, which will be in conjunction with the Haldane PTA. There's May 9th, an important community event at the Chapel Restoration called The Worst Drug Crisis in History, the Past, Present, and Future of Addiction and Overdose in the United States. It features Regina LaBelle, who's a former director of the U.S. Presidential Office of National Drug Control Policy. May 27th, there'll be a book reading and discussion on Hold My Hand, a book written by a local mother and daughter, Sandra and I'm not sure if I'll pronounce this correctly, so forgive me, Lejija Slokenbergs, about their journey with anorexia. And finally, May 29th, a meet and play with Annie the Hub Dog. There are support groups ongoing, so contact the Philipstown Hub if you'd like to participate. And also, just a few statistics for this fiscal year, as of the month of April, the Hub in April made 383 contacts, and to date, 3,505 contacts for the whole year, which is terrific. And in April, 111 were via phone, 171 via email, 47 via text, 23 through events. 1 was over Zoom, 11 on the website, and 10 through the You Matter line, and 9 were in person. So there are many ways people reach the hub. Finally, 2 personal stories that illustrate the importance of the hub. A relative of a former participant reached out to the hub for assistance. The relative expressed needing more help managing the participant's medical needs. Participant's medically fragile and requires more intensive care. And they were looking for a long-term facility to help with that. And the needs coordinator suggested the idea of case management, which would assign a manager to manage their needs. And she helped the participant's relative to submit documents for review to participate in managing those needs with the specialist, and assisted her with the long-term care assisted living referrals. The hub's continuing to follow up with that family. And the second individual that was helped was one who had a mental illness diagnosed recently and intellectual disabilities, and the family and the individual were in need of a variety of support services, including therapeutic activities such as speech therapy. So they needed some regular social interactions to improve the quality of life of the participant, And so the hub worked with that family to identify resources in the community that could be beneficial to the individual and give them those support services and activities that would improve their quality of life. And that is something that was not in place already, which was really important. So thank you to the hub, to Michelle Cupper for your leadership and the board and the care coordinators. We're an amazing organization.
It's no surprise the amount of activity that's going on there with Michelle Cupper at the
No,
helm.
I know, it's
That was
incredible.
quite an effort. Thank you.
Thank
you.
you. You're welcome.
Thank you to the hub and Michelle. Planning Board,
Planning Board, I attended the Planning Board April 17th. First thing on the agenda was a correspondence letter from the Conservation Board regarding the Audemars site up on 3070 Route 9. Their concerns were that they did the last tenant there, Audemars, did a nice job cleaning things up, but there's still more work to be done, especially around the Clove Creek area. Other concerns that were voiced by Andy in the chair there, that the bridge that goes over Clove Creek, he doesn't really know how stable that bridge could be, and he doesn't even know if there's going to be using it in the future, if anything is going to be back there. But from what the letter said, indicated that they originally indicated putting a big flex building on that site, as well as the gas station, Dunkin' Donuts and so forth. But anyway, the flex building is supposedly being removed from the site plan. So, anyway, it was just that letter. We also had a referral from the town of Fishkill, Century Aggregates on 107 Route 9 in Fishkill, right as you enter in Fishkill, that big quarry there on the left-hand side. They're looking to build a concrete plant there. Okay, there's one right across the street, so I don't know why they need another one, but that's really not too much to do with us, but they're just really referring to let us know what's going on at the town of Fishkill, because it's so close to us. Next thing on the agenda was a public hearing for Kingsley. They've been in the planning board for quite some time now. They have 50 Old Albany Post Road. They have a minor project. They're seeking to change a 4-bay garage on the first floor of the building they erected about a year or so ago and making that into 2 one-bedroom apartments. Upstairs is two one-bedroom apartments already, which is being served by a private septic system and well. Well, the septic system will need to be expanded if they get the approvals, which it seems like they're going to get the approvals to change these into 2 one-room bedroom apartments. Anyway, there was no public comment whatsoever. The public hearing was closed, and they prepare next month's resolution for approval. The applicant did request to change the driveway from asphalt to tar and chip. There was a lot of discussion about that because they already had it approved for blacktop, and now they're kind of like backtracking. Anyway, the planning board approved to do it tar and chip. Old business, KPB Properties, 201 West Point Road in Garrison. They've been in front of the planning board for many, many months now. So they just brought up, they gave updated plans for the site. They showed more screening to the south side and also going up Old West Point Road. They guaranteed there's no entrance from West Point Road into this property, even though there's a house there. The house will have entrance to that, but the actual big garage they're planning on building will not have access from Old West Point Road. Also, they want to see a drawing of the driveway that's going to be coming down off of there onto Route 9. They did provide that, and the planning board was happy with those results of those plans. Expected action, they plan on having a resolution prepared for next month's meeting. Next on the agenda was Ferguson and Chun, 236 Albany Post Road. Again, they've been in the planning board for the last few months, but anyway, this is considered a minor project, and they approved that application. So they're all set to go. J. Mark Jewelers, 3612 Route 9. They're changing the outside of the building. They're not making it any bigger. They're just making it a little bit more appealing. So they were the planning board the month before, and they approved their plans, and they'll be moving forward with that as well. Last on the agenda was Gatekeepers, 3691 Route 9 in Cold Spring. This is the last building on your left as you're heading north on Route 9, that brick building with the blue roof. That building's been here for many, many years. They have an existing 10,000 square feet retail warehouse there. What they're seeking there is to take 2 acres of that property and make it a landscaper's yard. They did have, I was at the site visit last month, but they moved, originally they wanted it up closer to Route 9, which I think they made a good decision. They're moving it way back further from Route 9, so it'll be a little bit less visible to the eye. They also said they're gonna put screening. It's gonna be in the back, but it's not gonna be in a wetlands buffer, so they don't need a wetlands approval or anything like that. So they're adding buffers along Clove Creek and also along the front of the property line as well. Conservation Board is scheduling a site visit, and there will be a scheduled public hearing on May 15th of this month for this piece of property. Meeting is over 8:45.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you to the planning board. Zoning.
Okay, so the zoning board was held on March 10th. Excuse me. The minutes for March 10th were approved. The April meeting, that's what we're talking about here. The April meeting, there was a variance that was put in front of the board for 979 Old Albany Post in Garrison. They were seeking the variance for 1,945 square foot accessory building. That variance was denied. And the next meeting was on May 5th. It was pretty cut and dry. It was simple over within the half an hour. So I got the easy ones.
Thank you to the zoning board. Thank you. Highway.
Work performed by the Philipstown Highway Department for the month of April, submitted by Adam Hoteling, Highway Superintendent. Spring has sprung and some early grading has begun. Our crews have been out daily with the grader and getting the roads back into shape after the winter season. The season brings many ongoing projects to the Highway Department, including road resurfacing repairs, catch basin, storm basin, drains installation, repair and cleaning, sign installation and repairs, installation and maintenance of the guardrails and posts, installation and maintenance of curbs and gutters, grading gravel roads and shoulders, roadside mowing and trimming, and street sweeping. They just also too, they approved the new street sweeper attachment for a Bobcat last month, and I seen that's in use already, so that's a good piece of equipment to have. The highway posted a municipal training meeting pertaining to stormwater management, MS4, regulations, programming in Philipstown. Attendees included the core municipal staff, including the highway department, code enforcement, engineering, and other members. Meeting was necessary to make sure that we are compliant with the MS4 permit in Continental Village. The training gave all the understanding of the permit requirements that would be expected to use to fulfill the next 5 years coverage, including the town-specific procedures. Highway Department received roughly 20 phone calls regarding issues with the roads, and it spent approximately $8,600 on vehicle maintenance. And the report submitted by Adam Hoteling, Highway Superintendent.
Thank you, Bobby. Building and land acquisitions, I have nothing. Cemetery.
Just one thing
Oh,
about it,
sorry.
The Garrison Water District, as you know, we were having some issues, but we finally got an issue straightened out. So now we got the actual well can pump water from the well all the way over to the treatment plant. That was fixed on Tuesday or Monday. I went down there. They had to reset the, what do they call that?
Pitless
The
adapter.
pitless adapter had to be reset. And once they reset the pitless adapter, water started going, so.
Monday, there'll be a manifold connected. If any from Garrison Landing is listening, Monday, we will switch from wells back to the tank. The manifold to final completion of the connection of the Garrison Landing well will take place on Monday, and hopefully we are done purchasing water. The testing is all done for the well, the piping. Board of Health has approved it, so it should go online Monday afternoon after how many years of complete, what's next? That's what
Ceremony for them, we're cutting
We gotta do something.
we should have a parade.
a ribbon cutting for water.
Definitely need to get the press down there.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, but thank you to everyone for getting that wrapped up, but, and Cemetery Committee,
So for the cemetery committee, we still have bids out. There's a few trees down up on the Route 9 and it's Horton Road, up at that cemetery. And then, actually, Bob helped me out with this. The sign over here on Mountain Avenue Cemetery is getting replaced. And then our cute little Daisy 1362, they're going to be putting the flags out for Memorial Day.
I was requested or included in a, email chain to get McKeel's Corner Cemetery, if anybody have ever been there. I never knew it existed. It's in the back. There's a little chapel. It's not near the chapel. It's on the hill, east of the chapel. So there's 7 Revolutionary War veterans buried in there. And the cemetery, like I said, I didn't even know it was there. And I was contacted there were some big trees that had come down, taken stones down. There's 83 graves in there. Some of the stones look like they're brand new. Did you even know that's there?
No.
So, neither did I.
And I love the Rebel.
I spoke to Richard, and Richard knew it was there, but it has been neglected. So,
So maybe we can get some,
the highway department, I talked to Adam about getting some of the bigger trees. They were not capable, so we did get Garrison Tree to come in and bring down some of the trees that our guys weren't comfortable with. But then our guys went in and picked up the logs and carried it out. George Whipple and George Pataki are in charge of the 250th anniversary of the country, and they're looking to improve all of these Revolutionary War sites. So I thought it was mandatory that we did our part and took care of that. So the highway crew and Garrison Tree did go up and do what they needed to do. The Boy Scouts are gonna go and I guess rake it all out and leaf blow it so it looks presentable. If you've never been there, it's pretty amazing. Nelson from Nelsonville is buried there. Denny from Dennytown Road. If you look at the names, they're names that you recognize. And I think the last burial there was in the early 1800s. So it's an old cemetery. You can see. So 9 and 301 McKeel's Corners. It's where the chapel is. It's southeast of the chapel on top of the hill. So yeah. I was gonna say, it's your old backyard. Yeah. Yeah, well, we cleaned it up. There were some big trees, so.
newsworthy.
Yeah, so, there's actually just, some of the gravestones are just a piece of slate stuck in the ground on edge, and you can tell that, but there is a map. The town historian, Mark Furlow, has a map of who they all are and where they are, so it's interesting. It's a little bit of history there, so. My thanks to the highway crew for getting in there and getting it cleared out, so, thank you.
Highway crew.
Agenda.
So the first thing is a resolution enacting a local law imposing a new 6-month moratorium on land use, approval for development of oil or petroleum storage facilities, and uses involving oil or petroleum storage facilities, and this is a roll call vote.
So we had a wildly exciting public hearing on this a little while ago. So can I get a motion to adopt the 6-month moratorium on oil storage facility?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Councilwoman Cotter.
Aye.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Angel.
Aye.
Councilwoman Farrell.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you.
Next is a resolution accepting the resignation of Scott Silver from the Conservation Board effective May 1st, 2025.
My thanks to Scott for his service to the Conservation Board. Can I get a motion to accept the resignation of Scott Silver?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
I just want to say about Scott Silver, he's just such a good example of the type of volunteers we get. You know, he was the former director of the Constitution March. He's got like multiple, I mean, I'm sitting in the audience all the time listening. He's got multiple diplomas in biology and ecology. So it's just like, it was amazing having his perspective on the Conservation Board. Hope he enjoys
A lot
retirement.
of professionals that we get on these boards, and you look at their resumes and you're like, oh my God, you want to help us out here?
No, they didn't look at it for the town board, right?
About the president. It's amazing. Again, my thanks to Scott. And we have advertised, I believe, right? Or
Yes.
we have, okay. Any takers?
Nothing yet.
Conservation Board.
Kelly's on it.
Next is a resolution accepting the resignation of Neal Tomann from the Planning Board effective immediately.
Again, my thanks to Neal. Neal has served for years on the planning board. Bobby, you watched their,
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he was one of the first persons that we approved when I got on the board for the planning board. So he's been on the planning board for a good 9-10 years now. So I appreciate all his effort that he did. Neil's a wealth of knowledge too. You know, he spoke his mind. He was very fair, and he was a really good member of the team.
I believe he's a land use attorney as well.
I know he's an attorney. I didn't know exactly what type he was, but
All right. Well, again, thank you, Neil. Thank you for your years of service. Can I get a motion accepting Neal Tomann's resignation from the
So
plan?
moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a discussion of the proposed conflict of interest form.
So we had an issue come up that at one of the Conservation Board meetings that has sparked us to put together a disclosure of conflict of interest form. Judy, you would like to take over?
Sure. We looked at a couple of templates for this. I know I've had experience with all of the organizations I've worked for because they receive public funding, and also there are potential conflicts when people are in different public positions. There are potential conflicts. So we looked at templates that the Town Clerk Association of New York State had, that Tara shared, and I also looked at a template that I have signed and countless volunteers and staff have signed in my organization. So I thought, it might be useful for the town, and really certainly it's the ethical thing to do is to have a conflict of interest form. Especially, we're a small town and so many people know each other, and it's hard. People can own property or a business that might have some interest.
As a business owner, I've had to recuse myself a few times from items with the town board, but it's hard. Like you said, this town is so small, you know everybody, basically everybody, and you've worked for them, but there is times where you need to recuse yourself from the participation. Steve, did you take a look at it?
I did. It's a very vanilla form. This is going to be ad hoc, or this is going to be annual?
I would require it. I mean, I do it annually for my position, but I don't know. Do you think?
I don't know. Steve,
I would suggest the annual.
Annual?
You just pass it out, and if anybody has a interest in a company or a property that's going to come before one of the boards for approvals, or in regard to a contract that the town might be letting, they can fill this out and put it on file, and that way the public and the board knows ahead of time. If you do it ad hoc, I think people aren't going to fill it out.
Okay, that makes sense.
So you think at the beginning of each year, every board member should fill out a form and
Yeah, it should
submit
be
it?
distributed. They might just write NA if there's no conflict, of course, so,
All the boards then.
All of the boards?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Zoning, planning, conservation, and town.
Yeah.
Well, do we have to codify it? I mean, what, or is it just
It's in
something?
your ethics code already, as far as that goes. You're already required to disclose any
But I mean, the
conflicts.
form itself, or is it
The
just?
form
something-
itself you should probably adopt by resolution.
So are you comfortable with what we have here? Can we? Okay.
Could I make it more detailed? Could I make more explanation on it? I mean, it's a nice vanilla form. If somebody has an issue, they're gonna write it down and they're gonna disclose it. If it's something that might be a conflict, might not be a conflict, you're gonna have people come down on either side on this form. Some are gonna say, yeah, it's a conflict, and fill it out. Others are gonna say, I don't really think it is a conflict, and they're not gonna fill it out. So, I mean, could we make it
More
more?
definition?
Yes, absolutely, if that's what you want. But I mean, if you want to just keep it vanilla, you're certainly free to do that.
I would be comfortable if you produce something that you feel more appropriate for the town, and you could bring it back next month, and we could do a resolution.
Pen to paper, then, no problem.
Is everybody happy with that?
Yeah, fine.
We don't want vanilla here in Philipstown.
Some chocolate
I'm a
chips.
talking guy, so.
Yeah, we need some sprinkles. Okay, thank you, Judy, thank you for getting.
Next is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the letter of support to the New York State Legislature for proposed legislation for making instant permitting the statewide standard for rooftop solar and home batteries.
If you read through this kind of conflicts with number 6. And I spoke to the woman that produced this to us, and I think it came from one of the senator's offices. But I said, we are developing our own solar law that would require people to get a permit. Not that we have any issue, and I don't think our permits will not be streamlined, but I don't think by right giving somebody the ability, because our code, or your proposed code, does have limits on height and the side of the roof and where it should be. This is just a blanket, you can put solar on your roof. So I'm not in favor of supporting this, and I told the presenter on the phone that, we are developing our own code for this. So does anybody have any other thoughts on it? Steve?
Well,
I'm sorry.
I was just thinking, there are significant delays, but I understand what you're saying about within our town. Having our own code as well. But I think it's to address the delays that permitting sometimes leads to in getting solar projects kicked off, frankly.
Have we had anybody complain about delays in solar?
We did have one applicant that filed a complaint about the building department with me, but that person was trying to sideswipe the building department. They submitted one set of plans and they built something completely different. There was a stop work order. It cost the homeowner money, it cost the contractor money, but the directions were clear as to what needed to be done, and it was not followed, so.
Because typically, if you get solar, the solar contractor's the one that goes to the building department and gets the
And this
and
was
gets
a
the permits.
contractor that had tried to avoid our building department.
Can't do
so
that. Well, that's,
It didn't end well. for them.
no, well, that's a horse of a different color then.
It ended up costing them double the permit because they did what they weren't supposed to do. And the code is clear, the code was clear about the building permit, so. So I would suggest that we do not sign on to this. If anybody has a different opinion, then go right ahead.
We'll have our own.
Moving along?
Yes.
Thank you.
A resolution introducing a proposed local law enacting regulations for solar energy system, and this is a roll call vote.
Jason, you spearheaded this, my appreciation for doing this, and Steve for getting it to us.
Of course, should I just give a little context and then Steve, see if you have any other things to add? So this effort started, just for a little background, in July 2023, which is amazing. It's been, but that was really just when, the board discussed it and then advised the town's Climate Smart Task Force to form a committee to start thinking about drafting a comprehensive solar policy for the town of Philipstown. And that was one of the top priorities in the 2030 comprehensive plan. And so that committee, that solar committee on the town's Climate Smart Task Force was consisted of Martha Upton, Peter Davis, Paul Thompson, Ben Davis, Nat Prentice, and myself. And so we just started to look at other towns' model solar laws, the state's NYSERDA model solar law, and then begin to adapt it based on the characteristics of Philipstown. And so the draft that we're discussing tonight has gone through quite a process. It's gone to the planning board for comment, it's gone to the conservation board for comment, it's gone to the building department for comment. Steve has looked at it a number of times, the town engineer has looked at it a number of times, added comment, added revisions, and so all of that process is probably what took some time, but really made it a lot stronger. Yeah, really made it a lot stronger. So just a few things to note before turning over to Steve and just discussion, which I think is the main point, is just kind of the whole goal of the law is to just maintain a clear process for solar in the town of Philipstown, is to try to protect environmental resources in the community when solar is sited, and it's to try to promote solar because it's a key part of addressing climate change. And so just a few things to point out just about how the law is structured, which I think is useful for our discussion. One, it makes a distinction between solar systems that produce energy for home consumption, so kind of personal solar systems, whether they're roof mount or ground mount, or in some cases attached to the building. Those are called Class A systems in the law. Those are just systems that produce energy for home consumption. And then the law makes a distinction between larger systems that produce energy for commercial consumption, which are Class B systems. The law promotes an easier adoption for Class A systems, so it gets at some of those things that you were saying that letter gets at. It treats Class A systems as an accessory use, but at the same time it regulates their height. In the case of ground mount systems, no more than 12 feet. It regulates their visibility and their total footprint. And then the law requires Class B systems that are commercial or would sell electricity for commercial use to go through a more stringent regulatory process. So it includes a site plan approval process, and if a Class B or commercial system was proposed in the scenic overlay district, it would include not only site plan approval but special permit. And then the law promotes, and this is just kind of what everybody says we should be doing, it promotes any Class B commercial system to be cited as a priority on brownfield, Superfund sites, mining sites, landfills, parking lots, and industrial rooftops as a priority over, let's say, agricultural land or fields. The law protects environmental resources from Class B development, including trees and native vegetation. And then finally, it requires that any commercial community solar system being built in Philipstown benefits Philipstown community residents by offering electricity bill savings to residents, particularly economically vulnerable. So it just says that if you're going to build a commercial system, that there have to be benefits for residents. Yeah, so those are just some of the kind of key overviews. Anything to add? See?
Not much. That was
I know.
comprehensive. Well said, Jason.
We've been working on it
As
for
far
a
as that
while,
goes,
so you
yeah, say it blindfolded. Yeah, just in a nutshell, there are solar facilities which provide energy on-site, and if they're just small on-site facilities for residents, they're promoted under this. They're permitted throughout the town as accessory uses. It's really not a difficult approval process, and I don't think it would really fall afoul, except as Jason noted, maybe for some height requirements or things like that of the law New York State is considering. The other are larger facilities which are designed to provide energy for use off-site or for sale, and those are Class B. They are subject to site plan at a minimum. They're prohibited in the Ridgeline overlay district. They would be subject to site plan in, what was it, the scenic overlay district. And there are a number of requirements to protect the environment and the neighborhood built into this law, which, again, we've discussed with, not only comparing it to other laws, but also with your engineer. And we think that they are the type of thing that would prevent any adverse impacts if you did have the larger Class B facility built. So tonight, you just introduce it and schedule the public hearing on it, let the public come out and see what they have to say about it in its terms, and if everyone's in favor of it, you can go forward with adopting it. This is an unlisted action under SECRA, so if we haven't already prepared an EAF on this, which I think we have, you're going to have a SECRA resolution before you go forward with adopting it.
Good. My thanks to Jason and the whole committee. It's a lot of work. It's been a lot of work.
of hands involved.
Now, if the state law passes, does that have any impact? No.
If the state law passes, it is going to preempt the field in regard to the residential. I believe residential is the only
Just
one.
residential.
Okay, well, all right then, just for roof mount, not ground mount.
Not supersede their code.
Well, it's going to depend on how the state law is written, but generally speaking, given the tenor of the letter, I think they're looking to preempt the field and say these things are permitted accessory uses. We don't want to hear about height requirements or mitigating visual impacts or anything like that.
It'd be a nightmare, honestly.
It's probably an overreach, but New York State's New York State. You have the authority to do it if
There's
that's what they
no
want to
saying
do.
it's going to pass either. but-
Oh, no, this is just a letter. I haven't even seen a draft of the law, so.
I mean, I think it's worth knowing that state letter is just for roof solar. And there's not much, I mean, roof solar doesn't get super high or doesn't.
Well, but you
yeah.
could go,
Build up.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
them in other communities. It
Yeah.
doesn't look appropriate.
Yeah.
So. All right, do we need to read the resolution?
No, you need to vote on it. I mean, you have the resolution before you. You can waive the reading, you can read it, whatever it is you like.
Whereas the town board of the town of Philipstown has proposed a local law before it entitled, "A Local Law to Enact a New Section 175-42 entitled Solar Energy Systems," in Article 7 entitled Supplementary Regulations of Chapter 175 entitled Zoning, to set forth a comprehensive policy for regulation of solar energy systems within the town of Philipstown. Whereas in order to consider enacting the proposed local law, it must be formally introduced and a public hearing must be scheduled and held upon it. Now therefore be it resolved as follows, that movement of this resolution does hereby introduce the above proposed local law, and that a public hearing on the proposed local law will be set for June 5th, 2025 at 7:30 PM, and that due notice of the same is directed to be given and by publication and posting. The copy of the proposed law shall be sent to Putnam County Planning Department on referral pursuant to General Municipal Law 239-M, and shall be referred to the town's planning board for review and comment. And now that the town board has sole involved agency, does hereby declare the proposed law to be as unlisted action under secret and authorizes the town supervisor to sign the environmental assessment form, Part 1. Can I get a motion? Second.
Second.
Councilwoman Farrell.
I vote aye.
Councilman Angel.
Aye.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cotter.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you. Thank you to the committee and everyone.
Next is scheduling workshops.
I've had no requests. I'm not aware of anything. Anybody? No. It's like, it's
No,
gonna
I'm
be.
just working on a resolution for a couple places of no parking on Route 9. I got that letter from someone from the state. Anyway, I don't know if we need a workshop from that yet, but hopefully we may. So right now, no, I don't need any.
Code enforcement monthly report. For April, fees collected $38,715.54. Number of permits issued, 30. Additional alterations or repairs, residential buildings, 5. All other permits, pool, sheds, decks, plumbing, HVC, et cetera, 25. And number of COs, 15.
Great, thank you. Anything else from the board?
I would just like to thank Karen Ertl for attending with, I was happy to help her at the Earth Day celebration at Boscobel. And we really signed up quite a number of folks for the food scrap, so we should be close to 300 people. So
and
thank
I-
you to Karen at Boscobel.
I apologize. I did not thank that group for cleaning up the front of Town Hall last month. I was negligent, so my thanks to it's Climate Smart, but it's the Garden Community,
Yes.
Garden Club.
Yes.
It seems like all, but my appreciation for getting the front yard cleaned up. So we did get the outdoor water faucet fixed for them, so they were very excited, but it looks great out there. Anybody else have
I
anything?
just want to actually wish Chicky Padala happy 98th birthday. She's 98. Anybody that was
I saw
been
her.
around this town for a while, Chicky's been she's
saw
quite a
her.
staple. So
She was in B&L on her birthday getting a free
Getting her cake,
cupcake. Getting a
probably.
free cupcake. And I couldn't believe it.
it's today.
Oh,
She's
it is
98.
today.
It is today?
It's today.
Okay, that's amazing.
Happy birthday, Chick.
She
Yep,
looks
happy
like she's
birthday.
58.
I know, as she buzzes around.
Still drives.
Still
That's
drives.
amazing. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I just want to bring up one thing. Don't forget all the kids at the fishing derby this Sunday. It's always a nice event for all the children in the community. They obviously, I read the papers, they stocked all the ponds and lakes and so forth the last few days. So get your kids out there, have some fun, catch some fish on Sunday morning.
And drive slowly, people.
Yeah, there's signs up for no fishing, so make sure no one goes in there to fishing before the
And wear
derby.
your raincoats, apparently. We're having them.
So I was just going to update everyone on the sales tax sharing for Putnam County. I've been there a few times, as well as Judy made her appearance, and Bobby was there. We had some community members also make an appearance. The saga continues, although I am confident. I did have a conversation with the county executive as well as the chairwoman of the committee, Amy Sajan. I am quite confident that we're going to come out of this with a conclusion that should provide the towns and villages with something. There's kind of a catch-22 because the county can't share the sales tax, the county executive can't share or won't share unless the sales tax is kept at 4%. So, and then the legislature really can't share the reserve with us next year. They can share this year's reserve, but they cannot share next year's reserve without the county executive's approval. So, and then you bring in the whole state entourage of the two senators and two assembly people who have proposed them keeping it at 4%. My understanding is if they don't keep it at 4%, that state law will force it back to 3%, which would be a huge loss for Putnam County, which I don't think anybody, and with my conversation with the chairwoman, none of them want that to happen. So I don't think that we're going to end there. I'm confident that people are going to put things aside and that we are going to get something from Putnam County. I made a point to them the other night, so you have a good problem, you have too much money. It's not a problem that any of us, other municipalities have. You know, we're scraping nickels together to make the budget work. You're sitting on $90 million. What's the difference? We're both in the same business. The difference is they have a revenue stream that we don't. So the one program, you know, extends that sharing. It's not much. It's 1/9 of 1%. If we do the math, somewhere around $150,000 a year for the town of Philipstown. If they do the sharing, which was proposed the other night by the legislature, it's more than double that. So, but they can only guarantee that for 1 year, the legislature. They need the county executive in order to do it for 2 years. My original thought was, you know, I'll take this for 2 years. That's 4 years of the other plan. Who's to say who's going to be in office in the next 4 years? But I don't think it was a legitimate statement that they made that they could do that. So there's a lot of variables. The county government is bizarre, the way the whole operation works. For me I mean, I don't really understand them. But the one point that we have is that the supervisors and the mayors are united. And I think as long as we stay united, we're going to make progress. If nothing else, I've developed a relationship with these people on a first-name basis, and we've gone there so many times that we pick the phone up now and we have a conversation, it's good. Our legislator, Nancy Montgomery, is supporting sharing the sales tax and keeping it at 4%. Unfortunately, there's only 4 of them that are doing it. I'm hoping that with the conversations that we've been having, we're going to switch them over. And I mean, if I were on the legislature, I would say, let's leave it at 4% with the variables, with the economy and the market, and now proposing this sharing. You know, it's a good opportunity. It's a pilot. Let it go for a couple of years, and then in 2 years, if their budget, revenues are still going up and they're still accumulating, share more of it and then drop would be my point. But I don't know where that's going to go. But hopefully it'll. Monday is another meeting. If anybody's interested, go to the county legislature, room 318. I think it's at 6 p.m. again. So I will be there, and we'll see what they have to say. On a happier note, the town of Philipstown and the town of Putnam Valley have sent a letter offer to the joint code enforcer, that the guy that's going to work for both towns. We finally got approval from Putnam County Human Resources. There was some confusion about the canvassing. It's been taken care of. The letter is going out tomorrow, the offer letter, and the gentleman has until the end of May to respond. We have 2, our first choice. The letter he went out to him today, so hopefully we'll have him on the road by June 1. So that's the plan. So my thanks to Jackie Nobby, the Putnam Valley Supervisor, Greg Warner, Bobby, we interviewed, as well as the building inspector from the town of Putnam Valley. So hopefully we'll be able to get this program. I'm thrilled that we're able to, neither of us could hire a part-timer. You know, we came up with this idea, let's get and I think it's going to work in other communities too, but nobody wants to work as a part-timer anymore, so.
Well, it's a good thing, it's sharing of resources, so it's just it's a good
We
partnership.
both have one, so when our guy's on vacation, this will help us, it will help them. It also is a bigger bench. If there's an emergency at night, we have 3 numbers now to call instead of 2. But I'm thrilled that it's going to work out. So I believe that's everything from me. Anybody else?
I have a question about the Kent EMS situation. Are there any?
They're in service.
They're in service.
They are in service and functioning. Yep. They are. After a lot of pressure, they did finally get their system going. It's up and running. I've heard no complaints and I'm listening. I listened to my pager. I haven't heard Philipstown or Garrison go to Kent. I mean, there's going to be occasions where they will, because that's the way mutual aid should work. So thankfully that's been wrapped up. That's it. Call on the public. Anybody? Tara, you got something?
How's it feel to be on that?
We do have 2 vacancies, one for the Conservation Board and one for the Planning Board. We announced the 2 resignations. So anybody out there interested in helping out or working with the town, that's a perfect opportunity. So. Approval of vouchers. General.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Highway.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Continental Village Park District.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Continental Village Water District.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye. Motion to adjourn. Thank you so much. Have a good night.